In the last video, I talked a little bit about the differences between decorated specialties and Laughlin Art China. And today I want to look at a particular pattern which is called Currant. And Laughlin Art China, as a recap, was made roughly 1902 to 1910. So it's a very short production. It's made during the height of fancy embossed shapes, like we saw in the fancy embossed shaped dinnerware and toiletware. So a lot of these are going to be rather ornate with a lot of embossing. There are over 20 different patterns used in Laughlin Art China, and so what we see on the table is just one of those. And there are over 100 different shapes. So again, we're just seeing a small portion. I think I've got about 25 different shapes out today. So we're going to start by looking at some of these shapes, and then we're going to look at the pattern in a little more detail. So this is a collection of shapes that comes from the 1907 catalog. And so you see a wide variety of fancy embossed pieces here. One thing that's interesting with the vases, they gave them numbers instead of names. I kind of wish they'd give them nicer names, but we've got the number 3, the number 2, the number 5, the number 11, number 8, number 12, and so on. And we're going to see a couple of these vases in a moment. But most of these pieces are just specialty ware. They don't exist with any other particular line of dinnerware. But there are a couple things I want to talk about first, and that is some of these were pickup pieces. For example, the Angelus salad bowl. So even though that is in this group of fancy embossed specialty pieces, this actually belongs to Angelus dinnerware, and we have one to look at. So this is the Angelus with its tab handles. This is the Currant decals with this blended brown tint. And we see the double marking on the back, the Angelus, which is under the glaze for the dinnerware shape, and then the standard Laughlin Art China gold over stamp. And we'll jump to these little salad plates, or 7-inch plates, from the Angelus shape. Again, there you see the Angelus marking under the glaze and the Laughlin Art China overglaze. So you will find some pickup pieces from dinnerware, but that is not standard. So we'll look at some of these shapes. We've got the tall vases here. These are called number 4 vases. And then there are shorter versions. These are number 5s. There's a, Tioga cake plate in the back with its little notched out handles. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's T-I-O-G-A, but I'm going to pronounce it Tioga. I don't know if it's Tioga or Tioga. Number 9 vases are these little conical forms. This is a Dutch jug. And there's a plaque in the back. That's the 9-inch plaque. They come in 2 different sizes. I want to show you this real quick because they have little holes notched out where you could put a hanger. And that would have been drilled while it was in its greenware state, meaning when it was soft enough that you could do that before firing. We have the fleur-de-lis marking and the gold overstamp. And if you are going to find an underglaze marking, it's probably going to be the fleur-de-lis marking, because Currant was offered, or first offered, when the fleur-de-lis marking came out. So if you find one with, let's say, the eagle and lion, like the signature stamp, then you're dealing with something right there at the beginning of Currant. And there's an orange bowl in the back. This is a rather common piece. A vase, okay, this one, I don't know its number. This is one that we just don't have a lot of information on. Probably came from the end of Currant's run, around 1910 or so. But several of these have been found in recent years. And there are a couple other vases and a pitcher or two that we just don't know the names of quite yet. Simply because we haven't found them in the catalogs or any advertisements. These are rose bowls. They came in 2 sizes. This is the large one and the small one. This little tripod feet, and you can see its marking there. Smaller one's a little more difficult to find than the larger one, though neither one are particularly easy. The Tioga sugar and creamer, or the sugar basket, as I like to call it. And there's your creamer. The Alaskan ice cream, roughly 7 inches. Coupe shape. Really nice detailed embossing on the edge. These were used in colonial dinnerware, so you'll probably find them marked with the colonial back stamp, and then, of course, Laughlin Art China as well. Geisha Jug. These came in 5 different sizes, the smallest version. A Stein mug, usually part of a Stein set. Spoon holder, these came in 2 different sizes. This is the largest size. Bread tray, we'll be coming back to this one in a minute. Chocolate cups and saucers. Unusual for cups to be marked in many lines, but these do have the Laughlin Art China overglaze gold stamps. Bonbon, or footed bonbon. These came in 3 different sizes, I believe. A little fruit dish. The Geisha Jug, which we just looked at its marking a moment ago with its eagle and lion signature mark, so it's an earlier piece. Berry bowls, the large berry bowls. There's also small berry bowls that go with it to form a set. Chocolate pots in the back. I think one of them is unusual in that it has a marking on the lid, which you normally don't see this, but this particular lid has a marking. Pudding stand in the back. A Steinauer, we'll see many of these as we look at other patterns. A large size of the Geisha Jug, and a Virginia jug. Okay, so those are just some of the shapes used in Laughlin Art China. When you start looking at currant, you can find quite a bit of shapes because this was the most popular pattern made for Laughlin Art China. And we see it first in the 1906 treatment listings. So we see Juno, Ruby, Laughlin Blue, there's currant, large clusters of red currants with background tinted and rich browns. And then it goes all the way to 1908, 1909, and you get to 1910, and you see the number of specialties there's only 3 in 1910, currant, golden fleece, and rose. And we see a large cluster of red currants with background tinted and rich browns. But I want to point something out with these descriptions, because we first see it in 1906, and this is January 1906, so the treatment would have been developed in 1905. So, where is that again? Currant. Large clusters of red currants with background tinted and rich browns, gold edge. And then we see this one down here, large clusters of red currants with background tinted and rich browns, period, no gold edge. So 1906, or we can even say 1905, because I'm sure that's when they would have started production on this, you're going to see gold edge lines on currant. But by the time you get to 1907 and 1908, we don't see it. Here's a 1908 catalog, and where are they at? Currant. Large cluster red currants with background tinted and rich browns. So if you have this pattern with gold edge, then you have an early version. If you have the currant pattern with a brown edge, then you have the second version. And there are a couple that we do have with gold edge here. The Angelus salad nappy has gold on it. This particular number 4 vase has gold edge. This one doesn't. Our salad plates have gold edge on them. Might be hard to see in the video. Our Geisha Jug has remnants of gold edge, as does our Geisha Jug here in the back. Now, everything else has brown edge. So somebody went to the time and trouble to put an edge line on here, so it's not the case that they just didn't do it anymore, they just switched from gold to brown. So you can see the well-defined brown edge on this mug. You can see it, let's see, on the Alaskan ice cream. You can see the brown edge. Even our little unknown vase, you can see the brown edge. So there's another difference with respect to these gold edge pieces, is that they have a slightly yellowish tint to them, and the ones with brown edge are a little more brown. We see that with the salad bowl, how yellowy it looks in comparison to some of these other pieces. So clearly they changed the way they were tinted as well. Our Geisha Jug again and our Geisha Jug both have this yellow look, as do our salad plates. So you're going to see these variations with the tint, you're going to see the variations with the trim. We're going to look at some variations of decals here next, because this is where it can get a little confusing. Well, before I do that, let's look at number of sprigs, and I don't know if I've used that term yet. A sprig is an individual decal. So if we look at, we'll go back over here to our salad bowl. We would say this has 3 sprigs, because it has 1, 2, 3 decals. So you will see like with these bread trays, we've got one large sprig on this bread tray, or we can have 3 small sprigs on the bread tray. So you've got 2 different pieces here, essentially, simply because of the number of sprigs. If we look at our number 9 vases, we've got a small sprig in the center and a large sprig on that one. What else has a variation to it? The berry bowls. 1 large sprig versus 3 small sprigs. So I just wanted to point that out, that you can have, multiple pieces of the same shape and the same pattern simply because they altered the number of decals. And that's particularly true with currant. Not so much the other Laughlin Art China treatments, but this one you will find those types of variations with the number of decals. Even our large vases here, this is the gold trim with a more yellow body. This is a brown trim with a more brown body. We've got 2 sprigs versus 1. Now, one last thing about currant in this decal is you're going to find some distinct decals, almost to the point where it's like they're 2 different treatments. So let me move some things here for a moment and compare these 2 chocolate pots. So we do have a large one on the right and a small one on the left, but if you'll notice, the berries on the one on the right are slightly different than the ones on the left. The left has red berries and green ones. The ones on the right are just like red and pink. The leaf detail is much greater. There's more leaves. It's a very full-bodied treatment. I was looking to see if I have another one to compare. The number 4 vase, I'm sorry, these are number 5 vases. Again, we have this pretty standard currant decal with the 2 colors. And then we get to the 1 color one and we have this very full-looking treatment. These are, so are these 2 distinct treatments? Are they the same? Did they get different suppliers? Did they change the decal? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe somebody else out there with a more extensive collection can address these questions. But it is interesting to see these variations come about, because just looking at this piece all by itself, you identify that as currant. But when you start mixing it with other pieces, it starts to become apparent that there are variations. We can see that with the chocolate cups and saucers. Again, a rather simple currant treatment that we would expect in this much fuller version. And they're both marked the same way. They both have brown tints. They're equally as, this one's you can find just as common as this one. We'll look at the markings real quick. Same markings. Unfortunately, currant, they did not put the pattern name. When we look at other treatments like White Pets and Caledon and what's another one? Dreamland. They put the pattern name. It would have been nice if they'd done it with this one, but they just didn't feel it was necessary. But that's a little bit about currant. It's, I hate to say it's easy to find. I mean, none of these are particularly easy to find, but when you compare it to the other Laughlin Art China treatments, yeah, this is the most common. So that's it. Next time we're going to start looking at some other treatments beginning with White Pets.